We love horror movies from the 70s and 80s, and we watch them for 2 days straight, and then we go write a book. Now we're looking back at every title, one at a time, in this podcast that we put out monthly. Once we've had an episode for every movie, it's time to meet up for another Shock Marathon. The red record button is red, and that means it's time for another exciting edition of Shock Marathons podcast with Charlie Roxburgh.
Hello.
Tom Scalzo.
Hi.
And me, Matt Farley. We're talking the Majorettes. Is that right, guys? Charlie, you have the box. Is there a "the" right there?
Yes.
I don't know.
Yes.
I've always called it Majorettes myself. How about you, Tom?
Yeah, in casual conversation, I usually just...
I wish it was just called Majorettes for some reason.
But doesn't the Majorettes give them a little grandeur?
Yeah.
Do they deserve it?
You ask that. How could they not?
The answer is yes.
Have you seen that photo shoot at the intro?
Oh,
they deserve that.
So the intro,
Could have been it.
we learned that the movie is based on the novel by John Russo, who adapted the screenplay and produced. This is a labor of love for the great John Russo. Do we know anything about him, Charlie?
Well, we know that he worked with Romero on Night of the Living Dead, of course, which is huge. But
then he went on to this.
The novel is from 1979. Which is kind of interesting because all these slashers and stuff, they were like, we got to bust out a movie real quick, just come up with a story. But this was already done and on the back burner as a full novel. I haven't read it yet, but
I think everyone passed because it was so unnecessarily convoluted. They're like, oh, we can whip up something.
Probably.
But then action movies became popular, and they're like, this book is practically an action movie. That is
True.
If, of course, the screenplay matched the novel. Because this movie takes a right turn, my goodness, in the last third, but we'll get there. So it's a labor of love from the great John Russo, and it opens up with the Majorettes dancing to an amazing song that I'm going to play for you guys right now. That sounds so much like a Stevie Nicks song at that point.
Oh, man. It's
Doesn't
fantastic.
she wishes.
Stevie Nicks wishes she sounded this good.
It's more like, I think it's more like Bananarama kind of,
Yeah, that's true.
that kind of a vibe. And like that song from Killer Parties, you know.
Yeah, the best years of our lives from Killer Parties. So much,
yeah.
It's
so good.
It's darn good. A lot going on in this scene, everybody.
You have to smile during this scene.
Before we talk about the scene, I also just want to say in the opening credits, the attentive observer might have noticed that the original score was written by the director of photography, which is just great.
Yeah, well, that's good because you have many hats. These people had many hats.
Yes.
So, so they're dancing. They're doing what they do. They're majorettes. I mean, Charlie, describe these girls.
Okay, they're as happy as can be. Every girl is spinning and posing on top of the world at the height of their beauty, charm, style, abilities. There's a guy doing a photo shoot. I don't know why. It doesn't seem to be a student for the yearbook or anything.
Well, he is a student, though. That's the boy who's in the car in the next scene.
Yeah.
Oh, he is? Okay,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
It's Tommy.
So he's doing a photo shoot that perhaps, I guess, is for the yearbook, but looks like a professional fashion shoot. And
yes,
it is high energy. And then to add extra bonus, the janitor is there leering. So you've got so much going on in every frame. Every girl gets her moment. And
literally, each girl gets a solo dance moment, which is amazing.
Oh, yeah. It's marvelous. And it's all done in such, like, they're into it, but it's all kind of slow motion, you know, like posing. And they're not really dancing with too much, you know, energy.
Can I take
It's so weird.
Can I take umbrage though, Charlie? With you said the peak of their style. I don't know, like these leotards or whatever they're wearing, they're not very flattering by my opinion. Charlie,
it fit the milieu. But if you, I have a feeling if you have this on, right? This movie is on. Someone is walking through the room with laundry or comes over for a second. They're stopping, they're turning, they're watching. It is as happy and it's got this siren song about it, this scene. It's just like candy to us.
Charlie is the champion of this film, for sure. You've taken it under your wing, Charlie, and that's beautiful.
Yeah.
So yeah, like you said, the janitor's leering, and it's time to hit the showers. But we see that one of the majorettes goes to the camera guy, that Nicole. So like it's all tying together. The fact that Nicole's gonna make plans with Tommy, so that the filmmakers know what they're doing. So now we're in. Yes, Charlie.
Yeah, just imagine, it goes from this scene of the girls dancing to the coach saying, "All right, girls, time to hit the showers." If you're a guy watching this at home, you're like, "How could this movie get any lighter or any more?" It's almost like that was the equivalent of the shower scene. They're dancing and posing, but they upped the ante.
Up the ante, absolutely.
Right after it.
Let's give the people what they want, just one thing after the next, and they do. So, they hit the showers. As they undress, we see someone's peering through the vent. Turns out that's the janitor who's got a camera. And what's his name? Harry? Tom? Is he Harry?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. And the girls are discussing him while they're undressing and being photographed by him. They're like, Harry the janitor's a creep. So
no, but some of them say
likes
he's
him.
not
One
that
girl's-
bad. Yeah.
was that Vicky? Because Vicky lives with him probably, or what?
It could be. Yeah.
It must be
might
Vicky.
be.
I had trouble knowing who was who for a long time in this movie.
Well, and a lot of the characters, segue off onto these random rambling explication adventures. It's almost impossible to absorb that much information in that short of a time. So your brain turns off.
And we're gonna hear some of that explication, which is impressive. The girls mentioned that he'd never get inappropriate with one of them because his mom is her. Yeah, it is Vicky who mentions that. He's like, we don't have to worry because his mom is my grandmother's nurse.
Yeah, she takes good care, she thinks.
Is that Helga? Is that her name? Helga, the nurse?
It's Olga.
Olga something. Okay, so now we follow Harry into the dark room where he develops the pictures, and that's a good time. Now we're in the old lady's house. That's the grandmother of Vicky, and the nurse, Elvira is the name of the grandmother, and she's just like catatonic on a wheelchair, pretty much. And yes,
Yep.
But with a wry smile.
she's being kept in that state by the evil nurse, who in this scene is taunting her and saying, I'm gonna kill you one of these days, but not quite yet.
That's a unique scene.
I don't enjoy any of the scenes in that house with those ladies. Too much of those ladies. Tom, your thoughts?
No, I like Elvira actually. She's she has nothing to work with, and she's endearing. She just kind of smiles a little bit. And all she does is get grief the whole movie from the nurse, but she's fine with it, kind of.
Charlie,
she won Best Picture or Best Actor. Sorry, she won Best Actor in Shock July.
are you serious?
Yeah.
Supporting or not? It must have been supporting.
Well, yeah, Best Supporting Actress. Edna Kleit says Grandma Elvira won.
Wow,
That's well deserved.
Yeah, because we were talking about her a lot during that first viewing, and it's amazing. And you have to wonder, was she not good at acting? And the guy said, "You could be in my movie and not talk. Will you do it then?" And maybe she said, "Yes, I could pull that off."
We're not above that.
No, it's wonderful.
Where was the bar being set though? If she was like under it, some of these people were barely able to get through their scenes.
Well, yeah, very good point.
That enhances like a long explication scene though, because if it's delivered well, it's just it's just explication. It's delivered well. If it's delivered poorly, then it's charming, on top of itself.
Yeah, it adds a new wrinkle. Yeah.
Sure.
So now we're at Lover's Lane with Tommy and Nicole. Tommy's the one who's taking the photos, and Nicole is very forward, and Tommy is a bit nervous. And we're going to listen up to this great back and forth between the two of them.
Don't you want to be close to me?
Why'd you want to come here, Nicole? I thought you wanted to go to a movie.
Well, pretend there's a big drive-in screen out there, and we're watching a scary movie, and I need you to hold me close.
I couldn't believe it when you said you wanted to go out on a date with me. I'm not the kind of kid you usually hang around with. I never thought... I mean... You're beautiful, Nicole. I like you a lot.
Oh, shucks, huh? Oh, my goodness. Tommy.
He's got a little bit of a Jamie from the Pit, like, plaintive quality to his voice there.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Yep.
Yeah.
So, she starts kissing him and starts unbuttoning her shirt. And meanwhile, there's someone outside the car. And then she loses her nerve, and she confesses that she's pregnant with Mace. Yeah, Mace's...
Mace Jackson.
Mace Jackson's baby. And she was hoping to trick Tommy, who's an upstanding citizen, into believing that he, in fact, is the father. But she can't bring herself to do it, and then they both get killed. So, pretty good scene, though, huh, Tom?
I kind of like. I mean, that scene is actually interesting because it's not. It works, and it's not what you would have expected to happen. You know, so. It's kind of cool in that way that it's not this, like we've seen so many movies, where the standard setup is, they're making out in the car. It's like, oh, what's that noise? Oh, it's nothing. I mean, it happens a million times, but this is taking a different angle on it.
Yeah, and you can kind of tell it's from a novel in that there's a lot going on, a lot of interconnected stuff. This guy thought things through before he put it to paper. So now we get a baptism scene, which we're down by the river watching the congregation as the reverend baptizes some kid, I guess, and it's not fun to watch. The preacher's horrible. It seems like he's purposely overacting, and then we sit through a hymn that is sung by everyone in attendance. And thankfully, a police officer who is in the audience is summoned. So is that the sheriff, I guess, who's been summoned right there, Charlie?
Yes, it is.
Okay. So
you're led to believe that he's, pretty religious, I guess. He's not there in an official capacity.
He's a good guy. But he's obviously he's not a good guy. He's the killer. Sorry, everybody. But but he seems like a good guy. But he's really boring to watch. Someone who's not boring to watch is the lieutenant, though. I guess it's the lieutenant. I don't even know. But we meet him next. In bed. Now, is that the coach of the Majorettes, Charlie?
Yes, yeah. The first time I saw it through, I was like, "Wow, he's dating a Majorette." But
yeah,
no,
I thought so
it's
too.
The coach. She's older, and he is like a county officer, he's a detective, and the other guy that is a local guy. So there's that good rivalry between the smaller town guy and the more bigger area guy.
And Tom, here comes some of your explication. Where she mentions that we were godparents. Don't you remember?
Oh.
So let's listen to this. It's good stuff.
Here it is a Sunday, Roland, and I'm not in church. I always used to go before I fell in love with you. Somehow I'm letting you corrupt all of my morals.
Come on, who are you trying to kid? I think it's a good thing you found somebody like me to help you shed your inhibitions.
Oh, no. You never go to church. And yet we met in a church, remember? We were asked to be godparents to my nephew. Roland, you won't even know.
Sorry.
Oh my gosh.
All right, we'll stop there. That is great.
Okay.
It's so good.
Tom, so she said we were asked to be parents to my nephew?
Don't you remember? Yeah.
Those two but they're not. Who asks two people?
Oh no, it could have been that the guy was a friend of the father and the girl was the sister of the mother, and they each picked.
That's giving them a lot of credit.
Yeah. Let's listen to a little more of this because they get into a discussion of the existence of God, which is really fun. So let's listen up.
Of course. How can you be a godparent if you don't believe in God?
I didn't say I didn't believe. I said I didn't know. I don't think anybody knows there's God or not, Marie. If there is, I don't think he sits up there in the sky watching over us, deciding who should go to heaven and who should go to hell.
Roland, how come somebody like you, smart enough to be anything you wanted to be, decide to be a county detective?
What should I?
There we go. Just more explication.
Yeah.
Maybe the audience doesn't know he's a county detective. Throw that in there.
The most in-depth discussion of godparentry, followed by agnostic belief statements in a slasher taking place in bed. That is a lot going on, and it's unexpected. It's kind of nice.
Tom, what do you got?
It reminded me a lot of that scene in Rana where Kelly and his woman are like, they're laying down by a fire and they don't have a lot of clothes on, and she's like, tell me again why you ran away from society. Like, nobody has conversations like that.
Yeah, she had on an emerald green robe, I think. You remember?
Absolutely.
Of course.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah.
All right. Well, that's a great scene. That's fun. I like it. And I thought that character was gonna the detective. I thought he was gonna be a Del Vecchio-esque, and he's got his moments, but he doesn't shine in like Del Vecchio does. But I mean, of course.
Yeah, he's not like out of control, but he's definitely a cool '80s dude, like who thinks he looks good and is tough and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
He has his way.
Well, the problem is this movie never gives him enough time because it has so many red herrings and so many side plots. If it just focused on like a killer and the detective hunting it, he would have been given more chance.
Yeah, he had potential. We should look him up. Maybe we could interview him. He'd agree with us. So their little Their pillow talk is interrupted by a call about the dead Tommy and Nicole. So he appears at the scene, has a conversation with the sheriff, much of which is drowned out by police radios. I don't know if you guys noticed that, but it's still a great battle between a sheriff and a detective. Now we see the football team practicing. Harry, the creepy janitor, is up there because the Majorettes are also practicing. He just plops down in the middle of the stands with binoculars, which is great. And then he gets surrounded by Mace and his gang. Charlie,
it's like a cartoon setup here.
Yes,
which I really like. They just cut to the chase. They do it in the most broad, funny way. He's like the janitor is so clumsy and poorly spoken and nerdy and everything. And then Mace comes along, and he looks like playing a tough dice hustler for Halloween. That's kind of what he looks like with his slick hair and his like big collar. But he's great because they're keeping the energy level up so high.
Yeah, they're all caricatures.
That's awesome.
Yeah, Tom.
But they're all like Village People characters though. Like they're all wearing leather and like no shirts. It's such a weird like way to characterize this tough gang, but they're also possibly like gay. Like it's a weird like vibe that they're putting forward for this gang.
Yeah, I hate the gang. Every time the gang's on the screen, it just feels grimy and gross. They're disgusting. But anyway, they surround Harry because they need. They're collecting money from him that he borrowed, and he doesn't have it. He says he'll give it on Thursday. But he does explain to them he's only leering at the girls so that he can tell them if their lines are straight enough. You need a little perspective to be able to check that out.
And the money was for drugs. That guy is buying drugs from. I mean, anybody can. You don't want to stereotype or whatever, but just the fact that those two worlds even met.
And the money he owes is $100, and he gives them 86, and they're like,
"Where's the rest?
Better have the rest of it." Like it's so.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, I'd be satisfied with that. So after practice, the coach has a nice little talk to the Majorettes about the difficulty of dealing with the death of Tommy and Nicole, which is nice. And then as they break up, Jeff, the star QB, pops in to say hi to his Majorette girlfriend. And this is good stuff, so we're going to listen to it right now.
Dismissed.
Hey.
So I see the big romance is still going strong. Majorette and the star quarterback?
Yeah. I don't know what Jeff's gonna do when he goes to college, though. He'll ditch me for a college girl.
Come on, don't be silly.
You two still have a whole year left in high school, and besides that, you may be going to college right along with Jeff, Judy, if you get your grades up.
I doubt it. Besides, my parents can't afford it.
Well, college isn't everything. I mean,
What a downer, huh, Judy? Oh, my goodness. Judy, please play along.
Yeah.
That's like her advisor or coach, right? Saying college isn't everything, or is that the friend?
That's the coach.
That's
Yeah.
the advisor, yeah, or like
Yeah.
the coach. I also like that this movie exists in a world where cheerleaders are not a factor. Usually, the star quarterback, they always say, is dating like the head cheerleader.
Yeah.
It's just such a nice wrinkle
And
that
Majorettes.
it's like the Majorettes are everything. There's no cheerleader, and
Well, they talk about later in the movie too. They're like, "We're Majorettes. We're always in the spotlight." It's like
I love
like this
that.
town, like it's like the most important thing in the world.
that's something we would put in our movie.
It
it's
totally
it's
is.
just like the Tudors and River Beast.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Great.
So next thing we're at like this local like drugstore, grocery store, restaurant hybrid, and all the kids are hanging out. Tons of kids hanging out, and Jeff's there with Judy, yeah, and Vicky, and he talks about how his head's not in the game because of this recent murder, and then then Judy like rudely brings up the Vicky's dead parents, which is something we're gonna have to listen to right here because it's good stuff. Get ready for this, folks.
It won't seem right going back to classes without Nicole.
How old are you gonna be, 17, huh?
No, 18. Remember? I'm a year older than you seniors.
Yeah.
Well, I repeated that year when my father was transferred to Germany. Do you miss your mother and father a lot? Yeah, I really do. I still have nightmares about the car accident. I see the flames and the crash, even though I wasn't there when it happened. If it wasn't for my grandmother, I'd be an orphan. And she had that stroke last year.
Why are so many bad things happening to us?
That's some more great, just flatly delivered
Wow.
explication. My
That's
goodness.
so much there. So
Wow.
flatly delivered.
I can still see the flames, even though I wasn't there.
Wow.
It's so great.
Do you miss your
And-
dead parents, Vicky? Do you?
Oh my gosh. And that's again like a Rana bit where he says, I could remember because my birthday's on the 3rd. That part at the beginning, her whole
Yeah.
thing saying, yeah, that's the same tone of voice and
Good call.
So flat.
They're big Bane fans. This Majorettes guys.
Yeah. All right. So, Jeff confesses that he saw Nicole with Mace at the drive-in a few weeks ago, and what's that all about? So, and he's fighting about whether he should pass that info on to the cops.
Right.
All right. Now we got two other Majorettes walking home. I like the nice suburban look of this street that they're walking down. By the way, just so you know, they're discussing. Yeah, Charlie.
it's got a Doller look there.
It's very Doller-esque.
Yeah.
In its suburbanness. They're discussing the loss of Nicole and how they're happy that they can walk home together. They part ways, and we follow one of them into the house. She says her parents are gone, but there's someone there. It turns out it's just Mom. And Mom's late for dinner with Dad, so she leaves. The girl takes off her shirt, hears a noise. Mom, is that you? And then she continues to disrobe, and the killer's right outside the window with a knife. It's some pretty good stalking stuff going on there, wouldn't you say, Tom?
Yeah, it's not bad. I mean, some of it, like the fake scare with her mom, was a little unnecessary, but
I'll give you that. So now
they have the note on the door. Like she comes in and like she reads the note, and like they spent a lot of time like establishing this note that the parents are gone, and then like the mom's still there. Like it's not really necessary.
That was ham-fisted, but when the guy's outside the window, if you captured a frame of that, it just reads 80s slasher, kind of like VHS fun movie.
That was a nice shot, yeah.
Now it's gotten really dark real quick. She's outside, it's nighttime, but the phone rings. There's a lot of back and forth with the killer, but basically she gets murdered in the pool. Tom.
Well, the time there is a little weird because the girls are walking home from school at, presumably like 3:30 or whenever school gets out.
Yeah.
And then it's nighttime, like immediately after.
Yes.
And she had invited the other girl to come swimming, so it's like that was like a normal kind of after school, like let's go swimming thing, and then all of a sudden it's the middle of the night. So it's a little weird.
A bit of a discrepancy going on there. We'll let it go though, Charlie.
You got to factor in Majorette's practice though too.
Oh, good point. I didn't think about Majorette's practice.
This would be a fun debate if we
midnight.
Go deeper into it, try to figure what time of year it was.
After all, they're Majorettes. They can't just go home after school.
They got work, but they did.
The spotlight's always on them.
To counterpoint, though, they were let out early. Remember in the meeting with the coach, she said, "I'm going to let you out early because of the recent deaths." So.
Okay.
Oh, man, we
got to do more research on this.
Go back and analyze the time.
But rather than do that, let's listen. At the scene of the crime, the doctor, Dr. Gibson, delivers his expert opinion on what happened. This is riveting stuff.
It's going to be tough getting an accurate estimate on time of death because she was in a heated swimming pool. She didn't die of drowning, though. I mean, she was still alive when the knife went in. That's why she lost so much blood. Her heart was still pumping.
Any idea whether the murder weapon could have been the same one used on Tommy Harvack and Nicole Hendricks?
I'd say there's a strong possibility. The wounds all appear to have been inflicted by a sharp.
And that just sounds like they gave him the script and just said, read directly from this right now.
I like that.
It's good stuff.
Are we gonna keep listening to that guy a little bit later?
Who, Dr. Gibson?
Yeah.
What else is good from him?
Possibly one of our favorite lines later when the sheriff and detective are conversing about possibilities involving the boyfriend.
I'm not sure I have that marked.
Oh my goodness.
Tell us what it is.
Charlie, you probably remember this too, but
yeah, I myself am.
When they're talking and it says like, I bet if we could find the boyfriend, maybe we could. And then the doctor says, "Yeah, maybe. I gotta go."
Oh yes.
I have not noted that. Maybe we can find it. But I don't even remember that, Tom. That's interesting.
We quoted it in one of our books. I think it's actually written down.
Excellent.
Yeah, it's awesome.
So now Jeff is at the scene with Judy, and they discuss how he just has to tell the cops what he knows about Mace and the dead girl. So they go to the sheriff, and then we immediately cut to a strip club, and it's a little like we've jumped ahead quite a bit because we're at the strip club. There's a quick mini brawl going on. This is just the grimiest scene of all time. It is so disgusting. The place and the people and everything about it, horrible. But
yeah,
yes, it's a very fake mix of people. It's very disgusting, don't get me wrong, but it's also so unbelievable that it's kind of, you don't feel as bad for like the people, the actors there. It's just that mix of people and everything. It's just,
it's cartoonish.
Yeah.
You could feel like, I it's not quite the same, but that scene in Devil Master, when Laval goes to the bar and they have like a popcorn fight, you remember?
Yeah. It's dirty like that. You're right.
It felt like that, yeah. Just such a grimy location with random people probably people that were like in this place when they came to film. And
very true.
So Mace walks in, and we learn that he's already been brought downtown by the cops. So we've jumped quite a bit. It's gone from Tommy saying Jeff saying I should go tell the cops, and then boom, he's already told the cops. The cops have taken Mace in. And,
that was a good job by them. It worked kind of nicely. I wouldn't, we don't want to see all that.
Yeah, they're so good at explication. You think they could have let me know somehow. I don't know. I was jarred by it. How about you, Charlie? You are the champion of this movie.
Yeah.
Not a bad word can be said about it. Tom?
Well, I was jarred because that is actually, from what I remember, that's the only instance of anyone outside of like the inner circle of like evildoers that considers a possible killer. Like they bring Mace in to be interviewed as a possible suspect, right?
Mm-hmm.
But at no other time does anyone else suspect anyone for doing these crimes. It's like the whole movie. Normally, these movies, you know, you have some red herrings, but you have like some sort of detective that has a couple of options and he's like running them down. But in this movie, the detective has no leads. Like nobody ever really follows up as a possible
There's
killer.
not a lot of detective work really going on.
No, it's so weird.
They're a little bit red herrings for us, but not for the
the viewer, right? For the viewer.
Yeah. And but even at that, I don't think anyone would actually believe that Harry could be the killer.
No way.
Right.
You know, you might suspect like the priest because he was preaching so crazy or something, and you know that's possible. But
on the back cover of the VHS I have, they say like all signs point to the all-star quarterback, but no signs point to the quarterback. Not 1 second does anyone think he's the killer.
That's funny.
Awesome, Tom.
So, there's a lot of back and forth between Mace and his gang members, and guns and whatnot. Just they're openly like waving guns at each other in the strip club. It's horrible. But not much of a reprieve because the next cut, we're at grandmother's house. Although actually it is because they're outside. When they're inside grandmother's house, it's the worst. At least this time they're in the pool, and Harry is creepily spying on Vicky, who's sunning herself, and Vicky talks to Helga about her concerns about
Grandma's condition.
And we got to hear this because it's good stuff. And get ready for this, folks. This is fun. Some great acting going on here, and let's listen to it.
Keeps an eye on her blood pressure, which I can do well enough myself, and he prescribes a diet, which I make sure she sticks to rigidly, as you know.
But Helga, she seems so disturbed, almost as if she's frightened by something. You don't think she could be on the verge of another stroke, do you? I've been looking at her lately, and she looks bad, just this past week or so.
That is my fault, I'm afraid. I allowed her to read the newspaper stories about your friend Nicole's death. And the reporter's descriptions upset her terribly. I think she's had some horrid nightmares. Somehow, I believe she has the idea that you yourself might be in danger.
Yeah, okay. She's barely alive.
She looks so content. She doesn't look bad. She just looks comfortable, and
no, she's fine.
We're supposed to believe she read the news and understood it.
Oh, that's a lie.
Helga's quick with her explanations of things, though. She's quiet. And we haven't really even gotten into it yet. I forget if the movie has at this point, but more confusing explication is coming with establishing. This dates back. Relates to her describing being 18, turning 18 instead of 17, but all the stuff with that plot is nice and confusing with tons of details. You practically need like an attorney who handles wills to describe the movie to you at this point, and a CPA, and everybody would have to sit you down and explain. Okay, here's how this is exactly gonna work.
Yeah, we got to keep the old lady alive. She can't die until...
There's this trust, and the trust will come. But if something happens to her after she's turned 18, and someone who's caring for her then that money will come. And if something happens to my son, then I'll be the only one who has the money.
Yeah, very convoluted.
In a good way.
Helga says, we do what we can with God's help. And the scene ends with an extended shot of Harry the janitor nodding in agreement, which I thought was awesome. Do you remember
that was so clumsy.
He's like,
really fun.
That's right, Mom. That's good stuff. Now we join the lieutenant as he interviews the Reverend. He's asking about the baptism technique, the total cleansing, and this sets the Reverend off on a long, boring rant about evil. And the lieutenant has noticed that like the murders happen around water. is the whole connection going on there, and it's not very interesting. But that happens. The next scene, though, much better. We get to hear Jeff and Judy. Things are getting a little tense between the two of them. She thinks he's going to leave her, and she doesn't even want him to go to college. Let's listen to this.
I don't get this, Judy. Look, my future's at stake here. Okay, our future's at stake. I am not going to promise you that I will stay here and I will go to some puny little local college if I could land a football scholarship to a Big Ten school or something.
Jeff, you're not going to be playing football all your life. Your education's more important than playing football, and you can get a good one right here in your home. And then we can be together. I don't know. I'm just afraid that I'm going to lose you if you go away. I'm sorry. I try not to feel that way, but we're going into our senior year now, and graduation's going to come.
Look, Judy, you don't have to be so jealous and possessive with me all the time.
Jeff, please. I just have to talk about this with you. I don't know.
That's some good stuff. What a shame. That's the Judy Goes and Dies next. So poor Jeff. He must be plagued with guilt. And
Poor Jeff.
Yeah.
But he also, I don't think he really had a chance at this football dreams of his. He's like 5'7", like 150 pounds, possibly. Like he's barely like
a high school quarterback.
He can't even make. He didn't complete one pass in everything we saw. He's got no chance.
What about his guts?
Bro, he's got
what
guts.
What about his resolve?
He's a gritty guy.
What about his ability to change genres?
So that's a fun discussion. I like that little subplot. So now she goes in to take a shower. Will he wait for her? I'm not sure, he says. She tells him he has a 1 in a million chance of making it pro. She's a bit of a dream crusher, this girl. He's upset by this and tells her, find your own way home. And so then the janitor gets to work spying on Judy in the locker room. She undresses and goes in the shower. And then somebody in boots and camo comes in with a knife and kills. They slice her up. And the janitor's snapping pictures of that too, pretty much unfazed. Just like, all right, now I'm taking pictures of this. So Vicky sees Jeff outside, and he tells her that after all, he was going to wait for Judy, but Judy hasn't come out yet. So the two of them go to check on her, and they find Judy stuffed in a locker. So that happened. Charlie,
how often does that happen in an 80s slasher? if you made if you make a movie that takes place in a school, someone's body's getting put in a locker. He would have had to take her from the shower, right? Carry her, open that locker, fit her in, and he's obsessed with water. Why not just leave her in the water? But anyway, he's like, you go into here, somebody's going to try to open this. Anyway.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. What were you going to say, Tom? Same?
Yeah, just what would Radish do in this situation?
Oh. if he were going in to save the girl?
Yeah.
He would call the police immediately is what he'd do.
That's a good question. He might go, he might try to take on the killer too.
Okay, so now the sheriff, I guess it's the sheriff goes to grandmother's house, lets himself in. He's responding to a call from Helga about evidence from the murder. She takes him to the dark room and warns him it's shocking. He says nothing shocks me anymore. And then she reveals that they have a photo that gives away that the sheriff is in fact the murderer. The janitor hits the sheriff over the head too, and they handcuff him for a little bit. Tom.
Well, this whole thing, right? So, I like to examine the logic. So, the whole point of this scene, right, is to draw the sheriff in and let him know that they know what he's done.
Yep.
So then they can use him to, complete their crazy insurance scam plans, right?
To kill Vicky.
Right?
Yeah, kill Vicky, but only after she turns 18.
But only after right. So if they just never did anything, his whole goal in life is to kill all the Majorettes anyway, right?
They could have just let it happen.
They could have just let it happen and never worried about it. He probably would have got to her relatively soon.
Yeah, and she had a proclivity for being near water in her bathing suit.
It's crazy.
That's a great call, Tom.
All right, so nevertheless, they make a deal with the cop. They're like, we'll hold on to these incriminating photos, and you just don't kill Vicky until we give you the go sign. One thing they did have to do was prevent the killing from happening too soon, Tom. So there is that.
I guess that's true. They didn't want
she's very, very close to 18, right?
She's like a week away, or a couple weeks.
What an Allison's birthday kind of world, yeah.
Good point.
So now we get to see the coach of the Majorettes and the the detective having dinner together, and another great conversation. Let's listen to it.
Cases that get solved through hunches or some half-remembered clue. Random murder is especially difficult to solve.
I can imagine.
You don't know who you're trying to defend yourself against. You don't become a victim by something you willfully did to the perpetrator. He's just out there prowling with his knife, and anyone's fair game.
Primarily females.
Look, I know you're worried, and maybe you can help. Do you know if any of the girls' boyfriends or ex-boyfriends might have any psychiatric problems?
Not that I know of. I could check the school records for you.
Just some great stuff. I love the flatness of the delivery of both of them, and the over explanation of everything too.
Oh yeah.
I feel like we should, maybe for our next movie, consider some light over explication tinged with melodrama like this.
Oh, in the next movie we make.
Yeah.
Oh yes, more explication and melodrama.
Yeah, just been reminded by these scenes. I mean, these are the ones that you're picking to play, so it's the ones that struck you as quite fun,
I hope you guys like them too.
Oh heck yeah!
And overly complicated backstories, that don't really play into the main plot. Which
we did that in Jew Gladiator Clone, and you and I, Tom, were sitting in Manch in front of that hotel, and you had to remember 5 times in the last 5 years on the night of the Rubicon moon, all those details.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Unnecessary. So they get an urgent call from the sheriff that ends their dinner. They go to the station, but the sheriff has already dismissed Jeff and Vicky, and the detective's angry. He's like, I didn't get a chance to interview them. But of course, the sheriff doesn't want him to, because he's got to make sure that the heat's not on him. So now the movie is about to turn into an all-out, like, Rambo-style action film where Jeff and Vicky get ambushed by Mace and his gang. They're armed with guns and knives. They throw them into a van. Janitor's witnessing them. He's like, no! She can't die before she's 18. So
I love that.
He follows the van. Things have just taken this dark turn. We're in this warehouse. Jeff is forced to watch at gunpoint as they're molesting and harassing Vicky. The janitor walks in, pleads with them, saying she's got to live till she's 18. My mama will pay ya, he says. And now one of Mace's buddies intervenes and starts beating Mace. And there's all this shooting going on. Vicky's dead. The janitor's dead. Multiple gang members dead.
Yep.
3 surviving gang members, including Mace, leave the warehouse. Jeff cradles Vicky in his arms, crying. She's we think she's dead, and she is, I guess. He's fine,
Yep.
and he leaves. He takes a janitor's car to go do what he's got to do. How does he even know? I guess he knows where to go because they say where they're gonna go as they're leaving the warehouse. Is that right, Tom?
They do, yeah. They mention it offhand. They let's go to Stone Hill Cottage or something. They say something pretty quickly, but he does hear it.
And he's playing dead at that point. Like he's underneath her body, so they think he's dead.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Which,
Tom.
just before we get away from that, it's like Psycho. You don't think this girl is gonna die.
I know.
Mhm.
Yep. Not Vicky.
It's pretty, and they keep referring to her as his girlfriend, which is completely inaccurate. But it's kind of like she becomes his girlfriend, and they're like the center of the movie, and all of a sudden she's dead, and then there's no center anymore.
Yeah,
It's really weird.
I like that. I like it though. It's like they're bold. Why not just make it into a total bloodbath? So it's good stuff, and it's a good point. It's like Psycho, Charlie.
And why? And to throw in an aspect that one of his gang members has a moral change of heart kind of. Two, there's all these bad guys. Also, he's like, we don't need to do that. Let's not kill him. And then he's like, yeah, well, yes, we're doing it. And then, that's amazing.
Yeah, these guys are over the top. Just like I don't think there's anyone as dark and evil on Earth compared to these guys. These guys are so over the top.
It's so weird because they're like, Ava called them the village people skinheads, because they're like wearing leather and no shirts, but then they have like this trailer where they have like 666 written on the side of it, and like they're into like
too.
devil worshiping and AC/DC. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like they're all over the place. It's like the director's like, what's cool and kind of evil, let's put that on them.
Let's accessorize our sadistic killers. Like give them a bracelet or something.
Great moment.
Bandana.
Jeff goes home, grabs some heavy-duty guns and ammo, like a automatic weapon of some sort. Takes a moment to look at a picture of himself and Judy. That was good. He is on a mission. I love it.
With no, and correct me if I'm wrong, but there is zero hint that he was into like weapons or
a survivalist. Yeah,
anything.
yeah.
We haven't seen his house. He hasn't been talking about it at all.
We never knew. We never knew this about Jeff.
Okay.
So he approaches the trailer, the tiny trailer in the country filled, like jam-packed with gang members, all kind of starting to get on each other's nerves. And Jeff approaches, takes off his shirt, and stuffs it into the gas tank of the van, and then sets the van on fire. Boom! Huge explosion. Tom.
Awesome.
Just compare with earlier in the movie where he was hesitating about going to the cops about having some info on Mace, and now he is blowing up people's vehicles and has an assault rifle.
Yeah, and possibly blowing it up to the effect that he wants them to come outside so he could murder them all right then. It has this like Death Wish sort of angle to the violence, and also maybe a little bit like how Man on Fire has this guy who's just going nuts.
It is insane. It is so over the top and so different from the murder mystery that was the first hour of this movie. It's completely different. It was like a whodunit slasher, and now it's a complete just over the top action movie with no hint that it was going to go in this direction. So it's really, really interesting. I would like to read that novel. Does this happen in the novel, or did someone option the novel and say good, but it needs to have action moments for the trailer because Rambo was a big hit,
Yeah.
So gang members flee in a car, but Jeff shoots the car until it explodes. Lots of gunfire back and forth. But Jeff is winning easily. He's probably killed 6 people already. The trailer explodes after some barrels tip over. And then Mace is the only survivor. He's limping into the woods. Jeff's following him, screaming out, "Mace!" He follows the trail of blood. Some great shots of him noticing the blood on the ground and stuff. That's good stuff. And then Mace tries to get him from behind a tree. Unsuccessful. He pleads for mercy, and Jeff just blows him away. Several shots.
It's pretty dark.
Now Jeff is a broken man who falls to his knees, stares at the gun, pulling it closer and closer to his face, perhaps prepared to end it all. He's seen too much, but he does not pull the trigger. So
as far as we know.
No, yeah. Well, I mean, we know by the end too, because we're gonna visit him. He didn't even seem that injured. I don't know. Like when he's in the hospital, I'm like, what injuries did he sustain? But we'll get there. Now we're at grandmother's house, which is the worst. I hate. It's dark, and Helga is just dominating all these scenes. She tells Elvira that Harry and Vicky are both dead, and she's prepared to murder Elvira after the speech. She goes in with a needle, and then we cut to all the religious artifacts on the wall as she's injecting. So she kills Elvira, I guess, right, Tom?
Yes. And during this, I think it's at this point, I lost track a little bit, but during this thing, I think she kind of mentions offhand that she still is going to get $100,000 as part of the will.
Yeah, and the house.
Like, and the house, like, it's like,
What more do you need, Helga?
And to add extra insult, she's not even going to keep the stuff in the house that the old lady loves. She's going to
sell it.
liquidate it all and get
Spitefully.
extra cash.
Spitefully.
Spitefully, like at a discount rate, just to get more cash.
So then in the dark room, Helga follows a noise into the dark room, and the sheriff's there, and he hangs her. And he grabs all the incriminating photos and leaves after telling her dead body about how he's pinning all the murders on her son. And then we check in with Jeff. Like I mentioned, he's too weak to talk to the cops, and I don't think anything happened to him physically.
No, they say he's in a shock, and
so it's just an
he's in a
emotional
state of shock. Yeah,
And then we see a group of young majorettes rehearsing as the sheriff watches, much like Harry, directly behind them. And turns out the sheriff wins. Evil prevails.
And not only does he prevail, but he prevails while watching some young children, some girls who are the ones who are like, you're the next line in danger. It's even darker than you could imagine.
Yeah, it's really dark.
It's
really dark. Tom, why don't you start with your review of Majorettes?
You know, I didn't remember too much about it, and I watched it this time with my wife, and she was not very enamored of it, and I wasn't really either. Like there was so many parts that really dragged. I liked Mace a lot because he brought some life to it, and I liked once it turns into a vigilante shootout. I think that's fantastic. But on the whole, it's so slow, and there's so much explication and so many unnecessary red herrings and things that really drag it down. Like talking about it, it feels a lot more fun in reminiscing with you guys than it was watching it. But it's hard to really recommend because it's really slow, and not a lot happens from moment to moment to keep you happy.
All right, now for the counterpoint, the champion of Majorettes. Let's hear Charlie.
Tom's right. I agree with Tom.
Charlie surrenders.
No. I think that it is. I didn't find it too slow because when you're getting explication and bad acting, I'm happy. I like all the convoluted details. A lesser movie wouldn't give you details, and I enjoy that. It is a little grimy, but it's 1987. They were influenced by the success of Death Wish on VHS and the success of, as the Rambo series went on, like Farley said. And also all the scenes of every action movie at that time have strip clubs and all this. So it's very much of its time. But the opening credits song is through the roof. And, this is something about it. There's not that many slashers, actually, from the golden age of slashers, from like Friday the 13th one up to, around this time, maybe you'd cut it off at 1989 or 1987. I don't know, but something that has a lot of the elements that people look for. And this is a regional movie too. I'm giving it big bonus points for that. They shot it in their area, and they really, I think, had sort of a homegrown vibe. And like you said, the DP did music, cool. You're not going to get that in a lot of really slick movies. It has a even though it has griminess, it also has a bit of the family and friends getting something done quality.
All right, good work, Charlie. I'm in the middle. I think it's got some great high points but some painful low points too. I don't like the grime. I don't like Mace. In theory, I like the abrupt turn into action, but in practice, I don't love it. But I mean, the flat explication is spectacular. The fact that majorettes are a thing is great, and it's got moments. It's got some good suburbs, and the religion. It's points against for religion and the thugs and the old ladies, but points for for all the back and forth between Jeff and Judy and whatnot. So that's where I stand on that.
I was just looking at Tom's review.
What does he say? What does he say?
Tom says, as a movie worth watching for the pure joy of trying to figure out what in God's name the filmmakers were thinking, it's second to none. That's good. But you do also say, Tom, I don't want to give the impression that I was in any way unhappy as I watched this movie. It's a truly incredible experience.
Well, that was
changed.
Times have changed a little.
10 years ago, probably. So, and then it's 1987, and you know it's 1987 for the most part because of the action. I would say that's what gives it away, huh, Charlie?
Yeah, the action, the outfits,
music.
Yeah, I guess the music. Although the music is not out of line with just continuing to kind of copy Halloween, and there's a nice bed of music under a lot of stuff.
But the pop music gives it away probably more so.
The pop music.
Yeah, the pop music does. Yeah, they didn't really have that in the early 80s, late 70s stuff.
I did not remember this. I did not remember a lot of this movie. You know, I remembered that it took an abrupt turn into action, and what else?
The grandma, I forgot about her, and then I opened up the book and like, okay, she won Best Supporting Actress. But when she popped up on the screen, I thought, oh, this is that movie with the grandma that doesn't talk, and that was a pleasant surprise.
I did not remember any of the religious stuff, and I hope I forget it again. Tom, what were your shock memories?
The only thing I remembered, was the scenes of the Majorettes, practicing, and the scene of and the line. Really, I remember that line when the coroner interrupts the sheriff and the detective so abruptly. I don't know why it really stuck out in my mind.
Well, let's hear it right now. I've got it lined up. Tom, this is your favorite moment in the movie.
I can tell you something new about her now that I've done the autopsy.
What's that, Doctor?
She was pregnant. At the time of her death, the fetus was about 7 weeks old.
And if we can find a father, maybe then we'll be able...
Yeah, maybe. I gotta go. I'll be back in touch with you after I've done the post-mortem on Barbara.
He has no reason to cut him off. Like, what was that? Yeah, maybe.
It's magic. It's magic.
Are they trying to, cast suspicion on the coroner?
I don't know.
I don't think so.
That's interesting. That one got
It's
by
almost
me.
like the actor was really just was tired.
Yeah,
of
he was in a
being
rush.
there.
There were more lines. You can see the look on the lieutenant's face. He's like, I wasn't even done saying my lines.
I think they like the wordplay with maybe. Someone say maybe, then you go maybe, and then you just trump them.
So Majorettes, it's definitely you gotta watch it because it's just the shocking moment when Jeff turns into this this hired mercenary soldier. It just you just laugh and say, I can't believe I'm watching this. I can't believe this is the same movie.
We use it as a barometer for genre change, and that's important. If something changes really quickly, be like, well, yeah, not so crazy as Majorettes, though.
And this is crazier than The Pit. I mean, it's kind of a similar thing where The Pit suddenly turns into this action-y thing with brand new characters even, but that's somehow smoother than what happens in Majorettes.
And one last thing I was gonna say, when if you look it up on Amazon now, it looks like they made a new video box for it.
Yeah.
Have you seen it, Tom? It just makes it look like one of the Majorettes is a vampire or something. She's holding a baton. It's a photo, not the nice ours is an illustration, but it's just a photo of a girl holding a baton with blood all over her, looking evil. And I don't know. Yeah, it's a shame that they did that because I don't know if people are going to get to enjoy the original VHS cover.
Sad.
It is indeed a shame, and there are a lot of people, I'm sure, looking for Majorettes. It's pretty obscure. I don't hear it.
It's worth seeing.
I don't hear it talked about very much. Do you, either of you?
People who just want to see every slasher, I think you got to have it under your belt if that's your thing. But if not, then yeah.
Yeah. Well, so that's good. Charlie, do you think you'll be able to upload Beaks for next month or what?
Probably, yeah, probably.
Look, listeners, we're not going to make any promises, but maybe the long-awaited, and by long-awaited I mean 2 months, the 2 months awaited Beak episode might very well happen next time.
Yeah, and by awaited you mean no one cares.
We are at
no one's cared for a very short time.
At ShockMarathons on Twitter. Check in with us. Tell us you care. For Tom and Charlie, I'm Matt Farley saying good night.